the bunker. Welcome to the essence of No Half Steppin'. I'm your host and captain, Crazy Charlie Saunier. And before we get started on the No Half Steppin' hockey coverage, let me direct you to renegadesofpuck.com. That's our home-based website, and once you're there, you can find all the access points to the Renegades of Puck, including our merchandise link. Once you're on that merchandise page, you'll find the classic logo t-shirts, you'll find the Pride logo t-shirts, special event tees, and all of the gimmicks the Renegades of Puck have become famous for. Throw pillows, bed sets, socks, wall art, it doesn't matter. We've sold out, so you can buy it. So we sort of appreciate anybody who can help us support there through some purchase of some merchandise. You can find us on YouTube. You can also find us on all podcast platforms. We are available everywhere. You can search Renegades of Puck. Social media, you can find us on every one of those platforms, and we are very active even on TikTok. Just search Renegades of Puck and you'll be able to get in touch with us on all of those numerous platforms today. Any way you choose to consume the essence of No Half Steppin', it is available to you. So we sure would appreciate any help we can get right there. Now, we have a big time special announcement. We are so incredibly excited to be announcing this here on the show. It is, of course, Operation number 660. So we will go ahead and start show number 660 with a major announcement from the Renegades of Puck. It is about the Welcome Back Cookout. It is going to take place at Charlie Daniels Park in Mount Juliet on September the 24th. It is the Renegades of Puck Welcome Back to Hockey Cookout. We cannot wait to see all of you there. There's no cover charge, but we are accepting donations to help us with this and future events. We're going to have food, we're going to have fun, we're going to have prizes, we're going to have games, and we're going to figure it all out as we're getting closer to it. We'll be making more announcements, so make sure you're paying attention to our social media, especially our Facebook page. We've created an event for the picnic there, so go ahead and follow along and let us know that you're coming so we know how many people to expect. We cannot wait to have all of you at the Welcome Back Cookout at Charlie Daniels Park on September the 24th in Mount Juliet. Strong Style Fitness is going to start the day at 9 a.m. Incredible partner to the Renegades of Puck. Going to get you all moving and motivated and get you stretched out, and then we'll start the cookout at 10. So Strong Style Fitness will be in partnership and helping us out with the Welcome Back to Hockey Cookout. So we are so thankful and so appreciative of having them in the trenches with us. Now, go back and check out episode number 559 for everything that's happened up in the offseason through the Philip Forsberg contract signing. We did a great job of covering each and every one of those details on the last episode, and it's available to you on YouTube and all your podcast locations, so go back and check that out. We're going to update you on everything that's happened since then. 2 major moves by the Nashville Predators, and then we've got a bunch of analysis coming up from the Renegades of Puck. So let's get into it right now. Trennan gets a 2-year, $3.4 million deal through arbitration. Took a little bit longer than people had expected or anticipated, but last year, 17 goals, 24 points, 191 hits, and Jakob Trennan could easily be a player that moves up into a top 6 role over the next couple of years of his career. He has certainly emerged and proven he can be very consistent at this level, and I sure do love the way he goes about playing the game. So the Nashville Predators have locked up Trennan for 2 more years at a reasonable deal, more money than the Predators want to spend. Of course, that's what arbitration means, but the Nashville Predators do have a player that I feel is worth the money for the next 2 seasons. Now, go back to the 16th of July, and that's when the Nashville Predators signed Nito Niederreiter, 2 years, $8 million. He had 29 goals, 24 assists last season for the Carolina Hurricanes. 29 years old, he's 6'2", he's a strong two-way player, and you know he's been a pest and a pain in the ass for the Nashville Predators to play against for several years now. Now, he will be a pest and a pain in the ass in the Nashville Predators' top 6. Last time we talked, we said the Nashville Predators needed to round out their top 6 forwards with another good winger to complement Philip Forsberg. Nito Niederreiter is an absolute great compliment, and I look forward to seeing what he can do now as a Nashville Predator. He's always been incredibly difficult for the Preds to play against. So very excited to see the Nashville Predators rounding out their lineup as we inch ever closer to training camp now with prospect camp in the rearview mirror. SCSNSH, that is the new handle for the intel that you need to be following. Sean C. Smith has gotten a promotion. Sean C. Smith has moved on and become a writer for A to Z Sports. Of course, he's still going to be on the Preds podcast and still here as a member of the Renegades of Puck, but Sean C. Smith over the summer has moved on from ontheforecheck.com to A to Z Sports, and now is going to be a writer for over there. Stick taps to A to Z Sports. You've got a great one in Sean C. Smith, and a great job upping your coverage as well. Sure to appreciate the work that you are putting in. Sean's got a lot of thoughts on everything that's been happening in the offseason, these most recent moves especially highlighted here. So let's throw it over to Sean C. Smith. Again, that new handle, SCSNSH.
Thanks, Charlie. Hey, Renegades, it's Sean C. Smith with a little mid-off-season update. And what I wanted to do today is I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the players that are coming and going in the Nashville Predators organization. I wanted to specifically start by talking about some players that have left the organization, and I think I'm going to focus on a few players that a lot of people had a lot of complaints and gripes about over the past season, over the past couple of seasons even. So let's go. Let's talk about where they've gone. First, let's talk about Nick Cousins. Nick Cousins, no longer with the Predators, of course, has signed with the Florida Panthers. So that's someone that I heard a lot of negative talk about. He was playing on the second power play unit. A lot of people said he didn't think he belonged there. I'm not going to disagree, but given what the Predators had to work with, he definitely tried to fill the role as best he could. However, his tenure with the Preds is over, and he's moved on to the Florida Panthers. Next up is Luke Kunin. Luke Kunin spent a lot of time playing on the second line. It seemed like John Hines tended to put him in the game in the second line in favor of a lot of other players that a few people probably would have rather seen play up there, like Philip Tomasino or Ellie Tolvanen. Now, what I'll say is this. He was able to find a new home. That is the San Jose Sharks. And with him is going Matt Benning. Matt Benning was a third-pairing defender who I really appreciate on the team. However, I heard a lot of people complain about him from time to time. I thought he did the best he could. I'm the champion of the third-pairing defender, so I'm not going to sit here and act like Matt Benning was supposed to be the next Roman Josi. I thought he did a great job on the third pairing, especially when paired with Mark Borowiecki, and I also think that he did a fine job when he had to fill in playing up a little bit higher. However, he too will be moving on, playing on the San Jose Sharks with Luke Kunin. Now, let's talk about Ben Harpur. A lot has been said about Ben Harpur. A lot of people complain about Ben Harpur. Ben Harpur was on an expiring contract, which found him as an unrestricted free agent in the offseason. And as of this recording, Ben Harpur is still without a contract. Now, Ben Harpur seems like a great guy. Didn't necessarily love what he brought to the game, but right now he's not on the team. So those of you who like to complain about him, good news, it doesn't look like he's coming back. Now, I want to talk about somebody else that drew a lot of ire from fans, and that's Michael McCarron. Michael McCarron often played on the wing, that's not true. He played center on the fourth line quite often. He was a very tall guy. However, he did kind of lack some skills that he had to make up for with maybe some stick penalties, things like that, trying to make up for his speed and skill with the stick. And that really caused a lot of problems for the Predators throughout the season. However, McCarron still has 1 year left on his contract. He's still with the team. He's still probably going to be playing a lot. So it doesn't look like he's going anywhere for the remainder of his contract. I'd expect to see him quite a bit. Now let's talk about some additions. Let's talk about some additions to the team. Well, really the first one's more of a retention, but of course we can't say anything about people coming to the team or staying with the team without mentioning Philip Forsberg, who of course signed a nice big contract that's going to keep him a Nashville Predator for a long, long time, which brought a lot of rejoicing throughout Smashville, and I'm right there with you. I think that's a great signing, and I'm happy he's going to be back. I also want to talk about someone they brought in, Ryan McDonough. Big addition to the blue line. Really excited to see what the former Tampa Bay Lightning defender is going to bring to the Predators. I think it was kind of an unfortunate situation that saw him leave Tampa Bay, but I don't think that's necessarily a reason to think that he's not going to fit in well and enjoy his time playing with the Predators. As he said when we talked to him right after the deal came through, quite honestly, he's excited to play with Roman Josi. And who wouldn't be excited to play with Roman Josi? One of the best players in the game, probably the best defenseman in the game, and now you get a chance to play alongside him. That seems like a pretty awesome deal for McDonough, so I'm glad he's excited to be coming to the team. You should be excited about seeing what he brings as well. Let's talk about someone else that David Poile was able to bring in during free agency, and that's Nino Niederreiter. Here's what I want to say about Nino Niederreiter. He's a huge upgrade to the second line. We just talked a little bit about what was going on the second line back last season and how those players have been taken away from the team. Nino Niederreiter is going to bring a lot more to the second line than either Luke Kunin or Nick Cousins was able to do. He's also going to be a tenacious player no matter where he is on the ice or what situation you put him in. He's got a lot of skill, but he can also bring the jam, if you know what I mean, and I'm a big fan of that, and so is John Hines with the way he's coached this team over the past couple of seasons. Nino Niederreiter should fit right into the fold with the rest of these guys. And finally, got to mention the most recent deal that's gone through. Yakov Trenin signed a 2-year contract via arbitration for $1.7 million per year. This is a great deal. It's a cheap contract. It's a great player. And that third line with Colton Sissons, Tanner Jeannot, and Yakov Trenin looks to be intact for another season, maybe 2 seasons. And I want to see that line keep bringing what they've got, because when they're on the ice, they set the tone for the rest of the team. And that's exactly how John Hines wants these Predators to play. So I'm looking forward to this season with these additions. Not really sure. The Preds don't have a ton of cap space left. I'm not sure if they're looking to bring someone else in to play on the wing on the second line. However, I will say this. If they wanted to do it, it could be interesting to see how they make it work. A big signing would require some kind of big trade, a way to get rid of some cap space in order to sign someone, or they could go out shopping for some value players. And I'd be really curious to see what David Poile is able to do with that. So that's something to keep your eye on over the next few weeks as we move closer and closer to the season. So with that, I'm going to send it back over to you, Charlie.
He's Sean C. Smith of A to Z Sports on the Preds podcast and, of course, the Renegades of Puck. Sure to appreciate having Sean back in the trenches for another season of coverage right here on the Renegades of Puck. Let me tell you about a great partner of the Renegades of Puck, Rebirth Sports. And you know about the jerseys that they have put out over the years for the Renegades of Puck. Absolutely incredible. The home jersey, the away jersey, and yes, the third jersey for the Renegades of Puck. Well, now Rebirth Sports has done it again. Hoodies. The upcoming hockey season is going to look incredible because the Renegades of Puck are going to have their brand new line of hoodies out there on the streets. So if you want to get your hoodie, you can by emailing me at the email address on the screen right now, charliesaunier@gmail.com. They're going to cost $80 in total. That's going to cover your shipping and handling, and I'm going to go ahead and place that order coming up in the next couple of weeks. So do not hesitate. Do not wait. This is the first time we have ever had hoodies on sale. We also have the home, away, and third jersey on sale. Just email me at the same address and let me know what you're looking for, and we can get you all set up with a package. The people at Rebirth Sports have done an incredible job. They're incredible partners to the Renegades of Puck, and I'm so incredibly happy to have them back in the trenches with us. Check them out, RebirthSports.com, or search them out, Rebirth Sports, Facebook, Twitter, and of course, Instagram. Brian Baston is back for another season of coverage with the Renegades of Puck from ontheforecheck.com. He's got the numbers you need to know and the charts you need to see. He's been doing an incredible job at the analytics desk, and he is all set to talk about the Trenin arbitration situation and deliver you some other thoughts that he has about the offseason. Brian, the show belongs to you.
Thanks a lot, Charlie. It's good to be back in the saddle after what seemed like a pretty exciting and then all of a sudden boring offseason, but I'm here now to talk to you guys about one of the biggest things that's happened in the last couple of weeks, and that is Yakov Trenin's arbitration case. Now, as you know, Yakov Trenin was awarded a 2-year, $1.7 million contract, which works out pretty well for the Nashville Predators and Yakov Trenin, as he's getting almost $1 million more than what he was making in the last season. But again, there was a lot of confusion online, on Twitter, and things like that about how exactly this is supposed to go. So I wanted to go back and talk about the arbitration process and things that could and couldn't have happened within this process. So let's start from the beginning. At the end of the season, all of the hockey teams in the NHL are forced to look at all of their restricted free agents. These are younger players, usually before they're about 25 or 26 years old, and these are protected free agents. You know, guys coming into the league after 2 or 3 years in the AHL, and gives them a little bit of extra leverage when it comes to negotiating with an NHL team. That usually being because they don't have as much experience, or they're getting in on the fourth line, not getting a lot of playing opportunity. So this gives them a chance to state their case. So as that happens, the first thing that the team has to do is issue a qualifying offer. Now, as you remember, Nashville did that to many of their RFAs this year, with the exceptions of a guy like David Ferrance, which, you know, again, we saw he did not get even offered this. Now, the Predators have to offer a certain amount based on the amount of games that this player has played. So, for Yakov Trenin, he has 146 games in the NHL, which roughly was equivalent to the $750,000 offer that he got from the Nashville Predators. And again, I want to reemphasize this. That $750,000 that they offered to him is a number that's mandated by the NHL. It has nothing to do with what the team would want to pay him or would offer to him in a regular negotiation. That's what they're forced to do. Now, in the case of a lot of the restricted free agents last season, a lot of those guys are like, heck yeah, that's a great deal, and I'll take that, and they get the deal done, and they sign. And that happened for everybody except for Yakov Trenin. Now, again, Yakov Trenin came back and said, I don't think that I should get paid $25,000 more than I did last year, especially after, he had played 80 games in the NHL regular season last year. So he came back and he offered to have $2.4 million. Now, again, this number could be anything that he wants. Obviously, he knows that if he's going to ask for $2.4 million, he's probably not going to get all of that unless he has an overwhelming case for it. Rarely do these restricted free agents do. However, he knows that if he was to say he's worth $1.6 million, that arbitrator is going to find a number in between there because they can negotiate within that range. And so if he asks for $1.6 million, even if that's what he's hoping for, he probably won't get it. He'll probably get less. So again, like when you go in and talk to your boss and ask for a raise or something like that, you go up a little bit higher so that way you have some negotiation space. So Yakov Trenin, he counteroffered with $2.4 million. So the case went to arbitration. After they've both filed with arbitration with the league will assign them dates, as we remember. And so the team and the player has all that time to negotiate prior to the arbitration hearing, which I presume that Nashville did. And so they could go in there and talk, work through a deal, see what they wanted to do. Obviously, Nashville probably knew that he wasn't going to get $2.4 million, nor that they want to pay him that. But also they knew that they were going to have to pay him somewhere over $750,000. Trenin, most of these cases, 80-90% of cases in arbitration usually get settled before the hearing. But in this case, Yakov Trenin didn't. And if you remember, the same thing happened with Dante Fabro. Now, Yakov Trenin, the two parties went before an arbitrator, one of 8, I believe, that's assigned by the NHL randomly. And what they would do is they each had 90 minutes to present their case on both sides and also include in that time a rebuttal against the other party. They can prepare a 40-page brief, talks about players that are comparables in terms of performance, their performance on the team, how vital they were to success for the team, and other factors. And there's other things that they cannot refer to. Talk about certain, specifically like players that they didn't mention their comparables. They can't look at those contracts. They can't talk about things that are written in the media, interviews, prior arbitration negotiations. None of that can be in there. It's purely from a performance standpoint. Now, once the team has had the arbitration hearing, a rule changed a couple years ago saying now the team still can't settle after the hearing. A lot of times we would see some players settle with the teams after the hearing, but before the arbitration decision came through. But in this case, they can't do that anymore. So after 2 days, oddly enough, and something I can't remember happening in the last few years, the arbitrator asked for a third day, and after that third day, the decision came down. He got $1.7 million. And since Trenin was the one who elected to go to arbitration, the team is the one who gets to decide the term of the deal. So they decided that they're giving him $1.7 million for 2 years, and both parties walked away pretty happy. Now, again, this is just basic negotiation. I think one of the advantages of this protects young players who may not have a lot of bargaining power when they're going up against an NHL team full of $6, $7, $8 million or more players. So this just gives them a little bit of extra wiggle room. But again, the process is the same as any negotiation. A player electing for arbitration isn't necessarily like a player holding out or a player, doing something where they're negatively affecting the team. All this is doing the same thing that a player does in negotiations with a team later down a career, like Philip Forsberg. David Poile had said many times that they had started discussions with his agent, at the beginning of the year, and they worked on that stuff. But honestly, this is the same thing. The teams would come together, they'd offer, they'd counter-offer, they wouldn't budge, they would wait. And that's what Yakov Trenin did. In this case, though, he just had the third party that would be able to come in and give a fair judgment on this, what he believed was fair based on performance, and give that player, that RFA, just a little bit more leverage. I don't think either party, the Nashville Predators or Yakov Trenin, have any issue with this. I think it came to a conclusion that they probably were expecting. But again, Yakov Trenin bet on himself, especially on his 3 goals in 4 games in the playoffs and 80 games in the regular season, added on to 17 goals and 24 points last year. He knew he could bet on himself to get a contract that was pretty much expected to be in the 1.6 to 1.8 range, and that's exactly what happened. Yakov Trenin is back. He is an incredibly strong defensive forward who's actually pretty good at generating shot chances as well. But he's that guy that really makes that herd line, that Tanner Janot, Yakov Trenin, Colton Sisson line, that really makes them go, that shutdown check line. And I think that's going to be an important part of this because, again, Yakov Trenin has been in this pipeline for a long time. He had 3.5 regular seasons in Milwaukee, including in the very first year where he came in into the playoffs, and then he split time with Nashville and Milwaukee for the past 2 seasons before finally becoming a full-timer this year. The man has put in his time. The Nashville Predators know that now, and they showed him that by letting him play 80 games last season, and both parties got exactly what they want, and we get what we want, an exciting Russian player that hits hard, is fun as hell to watch, and exciting to see as part of the future for the Nashville Predators. And that's talking about salary arbitration. Thanks a lot. Glad to be back, and back to you, Charlie.
You can find him on Twitter at Brian Baston. You can check out his work at ontheforecheck.com, and you can check him out right here with the Renegades of Puck. I sure do appreciate Brian and all he does to bring us those charts and to bring us those numbers. Stripe Digital Solutions could not do this without Stripe Digital Solutions, and your small business could use a partner like Stripe Digital Solutions as well. The logo on the wall, the crest on this t-shirt, renegadesofpuck.com, and so many other projects. All of our posters, all of our graphics, all of it is done with the assistance of Stripe Digital Solutions. Check them out, stripedigitalsolutions.com, or social media, Stripe Digital Solutions, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Believe me, you need the help out there in the digital world. There are so many steps and so many hoops that you have to jump through now to get your small business out there. And notice if you're doing all of the hard work and it's not even getting noticed, then you're not really doing anything but spinning your wheel. Stripe Digital Solutions can help get you unstuck and get you moving forward again, as they have done with the Renegades of Puck so many times. Stripe Digital Solutions is an incredible partner of the Renegades of Puck. Talk to Brandy today. Find out how Stripe Digital Solutions can help get your business moving in the right direction. Boyd Farish is here in the trenches. He is the host of the Predator Way podcast from Penalty Box Radio. Boyd joined us at the end of last season, and I sure am appreciative to have his analysis and his enthusiasm right here in the trenches for the Renegades of Puck. I know he's got a lot of off-season thoughts on everything that's happened. Since he didn't have a chance to even talk about the Philip Forsberg signing, I told him to just go ahead, let it rip, empty the tank, and tell me all your thoughts on the offseason. So Boyd's going to get you caught up on everything he's been thinking about for the last couple of weeks. I sure do appreciate him. Find him on Twitter at Boyd_1212. And of course, check him out on the Predator Way podcast from Penalty Box Radio. Boyd, take it away.
What's going on, y'all? It's Boyd Farish from Penalty Box Radio and the Predator Way podcast. Excited to be back in the trenches for Renegades of Puck. Now, the Nashville Predators have had probably their best offseason since 2013, which was the year David Poile acquired Philip Forsberg and the draft pick that eventually became Victor Arvidsson. They've improved the roster in multiple areas, but the lineup is still short of one top-end player. With free agency having gone through most of the big names already and the major trade of Matthew Tkachuk already happening, it seems to be that Nashville might be believing that Philip Tomasino is ready to be that player. So let's take a look back at Tomasino's rookie season. He was 12th among forwards in time on ice at just 11.5 minutes per game. He rotated mainly between the fourth and second line, playing more second line time towards the end of the season, and spent much of the season on the second power play. He was 6th among forwards in scoring with 32 points, and from an analytical perspective is really where Tomasino's impact started to show up. He was 4th among forwards in Corsi, 4th among forwards in the expected goals percentage, and when you look at shots, scoring chances, and high danger chances, when Tomasino was on the ice, the Predators were above a 50%, which really what that means is on a mediocre to bad possession team, Tomasino was consistently on the positive side of both creating offensive chances as well as reducing them on the defensive side. Looking ahead to the lineup expectation for the 22-23 season, I would expect that Tomasino is primarily going to play on the second line, and that would likely be with Ryan Johansson and Nino Niederreiter. He would also likely spend time on the second power play unit. As we touched on earlier, last season he only played 11.5 minutes per game on average. With a consistent role on the second line, I would expect that his ice time will jump up to the 14 or even 16 minute range. Playing on that second line with Nino Niederreiter and Ryan Johansson really sets up a mix of skill sets that should benefit Tomasino and make him more able to produce on a consistent basis. Niederreiter is an excellent forechecking forward and plays primarily in front of the net, scoring a lot of goals that way. Ryan Johansson, with his size and puck control, really is able to use his vision and passing ability to create space and create opportunities for other players. What that allows Philip Tomasino to do is use his speed, puck handling, and scoring ability to put points on the board on a more consistent basis. Now, what I wanted to also look at was, is there another player out there who has maybe had a similar growth curve from juniors to the AHL to the NHL and made that big jump from the first full NHL season to the second? And looking around recent examples, a player that I thought fits very well is from the St. Louis Blues, Jordan Kyrou. So Jordan Kyrou and Philip Tomasino are about the same size, 6 feet tall, over 170 pounds, so smaller, quicker players. And while Kyrou is now in his 24-year-old season, Philip Tomasino will just be entering his 22-year-old season. And when you look at their backgrounds, you see a lot of similarities about how they have grown from juniors into the NHL. They both scored over 100 points in their final OHL season. They both spent some amount of time in the AHL. Kyrou spent a little bit longer there, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that Tomasino was there during the weird COVID years and really used that to springboard directly to the NHL. But in both cases, they showed solid production in the AHL, getting about a point per game, and then graduated to the NHL, where their initial seasons showed promise and some ability to produce and what they could become in the future. So Kyrou being a little bit older, we now know what his next season looked like, where he made a big jump in his second full NHL season, going from just 35 points up to 75. In that same vein, his time on ice went from 14.5 minutes up to 16.5. And where I think there's an interesting comparison to Tomasino, most of his production came at 5-on-5, which will likely be the case with Philip Tomasino, because that second power play unit really doesn't see as much time, given how good the first power play unit for the Predators has been over the past year. So, is it fair to expect that Philip Tomasino is going to jump from 32 points to north of 70 points? No. He is a good player. He still has a fair amount of growth to do, and that's just a big ask in terms of an expectation for a second-year player. That being said, with an improved set of line mates and more consistent time in the top six, could he threaten 60 points? I think that's entirely possible, that he could go from 11 goals to 20 goals and 21 assists up to the 40 assists. That's not out of the question. And that would put him right about at that 60-point threshold. So while there is still the potential that David Poile could bring in another player that would change this equation somewhat, could he make a trade for JT Miller? Certainly is possible. But we haven't seen any signs to date that the Predators are looking to make another significant move. So where we stand today, it really looks like the next big jump and the big top-end player that the Predators are looking for is going to come from in-house in the form of Philip Tomasino. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you for the next one.
That's Boyd Farish from the Predator Way Podcast, Penalty Box Radio. Find him on Twitter at Boyd_1212. Sure to appreciate having him in the trenches. His analysis, his enthusiasm is going to go a long way here with the fans of the Renegades of Puck. Sure to appreciate everything he's done to help us out this offseason as well. Just a couple of more thoughts before we head on. As we inch closer to training camp, a couple of incredible things have been happening here in the Middle Tennessee area. The Wish Cup just wrapped up over the weekend. You've heard me perhaps talk about the Wish Cup in the past. Rebirth Sports has made the jerseys for the Wish Cup. I've played in the Wish Cup once before. This was the third edition of the Wish Cup tournament here in Middle Tennessee, and to see 2 hockey rinks with multiple sheets of ice be run in a tournament from 6 a.m. until well after sundown at the beginning of August here in Middle Tennessee, capturing the attention of everybody around here. It's just simply incredible to see how far the game has grown here. I love it. I got a chance to play in it. I skated in 4 games in just over 36 hours. The team I was a part of went 2-2 in the tournament. We finished 3rd in our overall group, but that wasn't the story. The story for me and the story for us in this tournament was that we raised a lot of money for kids, and hopefully we made a couple of people's days a little bit easier. But the 2-game rivalry series we had against the Public Enemies, you see in the photo I've put up on the screen right here, just incredible. On Friday night, a 2-1 5th round shootout victory by the Mighty Drunks over the Public Enemies. We would face each other again in the playoff round on Sunday, and it would be the Public Enemies defeating the Mighty Drunks 4-3 in the shootout. The Mighty Drunks were down 2-0 with 6 minutes to go in the third period. Then we're down 3-2 with 30 seconds to go in the game, tied it up with the empty net, and then the Public Enemies went on to win the shootout 2-0. It was such a good time and such a great experience that we deemed it worthy of taking this photo together as a group. I look forward to breaking the tie against the Public Enemies soon, and I look forward to participating in the Wish Cup for many, many years to come. Yes, I am tired and I am sore after playing that much hockey in that short amount of time, but to be back on the ice and be back in the locker room, to be back around so many incredible people, and also raising money for such an incredible charity, Make-A-Wish of Middle Tennessee, it was just truly, truly a joy. And Colby Collier, the organizer of the Wish Cup, just does an absolutely incredible job. I can't give enough Stick Taps love and respect to everybody who is involved with that, and everybody who skated in it, and everybody who participated in it. It sure was a lot of fun. I truly, truly enjoyed it, and they're doing great things over there. Sure do appreciate everybody's hard efforts over the weekend to allow us to play so much good hockey. And just one more thing before we head on out the door, just wanted to give some Stick Taps love and respect to Chase Thomas and his podcast, Charlie Burris, all those guys over in the Knoxville area up in the mountains. Sure do appreciate those Renegades. Brian Baston's been appearing on the podcast a good bit lately, and I sure do appreciate just everything that they do. Charlie Burris and me go way back to the radio wars of the early days. He knows all about when I used to have to call people from phone booths and all of these things. So Charlie Burris has always been an incredible supporter of the Renegades of Puck. So I will do the same for them and what they are doing on the Chase Thomas podcast. Sure to appreciate all the hard work and the grind you fellas are putting in. I'm ready to come on the show anytime you're willing to have me. And if you're willing to let me wreck up the place for a little bit, I'll be more than happy to do so. So sure to appreciate your support of the Renegades of Puck, and we certainly will reciprocate by supporting you guys over there. Come on over to the Renegades of Puck Welcome Back Hockey Cookout. It's not exactly in your hometown, but it's not that far. Mount Juliet, a whole new area for the Renegades of Puck to move into, a totally underserved area. Tons of hockey fans out there, tons of Nashville Predators fans, and we want to get everybody out for the Renegades of Puck Welcome Back Hockey Cookout on September 24th at Charlie Daniels Park. I sure hope to see you there. Check out all of our social media. Follow along. We'll have announcements about exactly what we're going to be doing that day, but it's going to be a very, very low-key, low-stress, fun day where you can bring the family out. There's a huge playground. There's a skating park. There is sand volleyball court. There is all kinds of areas for us to just hang out, mingle, have a good time, eat some good food, and enjoy our company. How can we be a community if we never get together? That's the question I'm going to continue asking until September the 24th, when I get a chance to see each and every one of you out there. For each and every one of the Renegades Puck, for all our incredible partners and sponsors, we sure do appreciate each and every one of you. I'm so thankful and so appreciative. And the next time you'll see me on camera will be the State of the Renegades address, and that will be coming up here just before training camp. I'll be letting you know how the Renegades of Puck are going to go from throwing a cookout to taking over the world before the end of the year 2023. I'll lay it all out for you next time we talk. Renegades of Puck, I love and appreciate each and every one of you. Stick Taps, love and respect. I'm your host and captain, Crazy Charlie Saunier.